Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We had a draft this weekend. I got some purple in my shirt here, and I got dressed up in the old Colts blue from my old pal, Eric Edholm, who has been locked down. I tried to get Eric on a couple weeks ago. He's like, man, I'm in the draft mode. I'll come on afterward. I'm like, perfect, man, because like you will have more insight into this than I will, because you've really become the NFL draft nerd at Yahoo Sports, where you once played and now play again, and I've followed along as hundreds of thousands do with you, and played the little game of Zoom TV Draft'em over the weekend. And we wake up on a Monday morning, dude, and the Ravens always win, don't they? I mean, once again, DeCosta gets an A on the draft from almost everyone, right?
I told him that. I said, one of these years I'm going to hate one of your picks, maybe. Like, I assume that the law of averages is that eventually I'll disagree with you guys. But, yeah, I mean, it really, it just sort of, sometimes you have to be a little aggressive like they were with the Lamar Jackson pick. Sometimes you have to get to be a little more passive and move back and add choices. Like, for the most part, I mean, they sort of let it come to them, and they really found great value and talent, I thought, at every spot. There are a couple of picks I know they're really jazzed about. And, I mean, it's just the whole class made perfect sense to me. So they got probably I had the Cowboys, Ravens, Cardinals, and maybe one other that had A's. I think I only gave out 4 A's this year, and they were one of them.
Eric Edholm has been my pal for going on a decade or so. He wrote an incredible piece on the 1996 Ravens. I'm going to tell you that I reunited with Vincent Testaverde about 10 weeks ago at the Super Bowl. So there's evidence. There's a whole video. You can go watch. You can go listen. All of that stuff that we reunited. And, he was the hardest, most elusive guy to find. And when you go back to the beginning of the Ravens, you talk about John Ogden and Ray Lewis and, all that the Ravens have been, that you went back to the beginning of all of this and wrote this oral history of how weird the Ravens' history has now been over a quarter of a century. But Vinny came up to me. He took one look at me. He came by. He said, "You're the one I'm looking forward to seeing the most." And I said, well, why don't I have your number? You know what I mean? Like, he's like, you don't golf. So anyway, so it was good to catch up with him. But I guess it goes to the genesis of this, that the Ravens are really good at this. And I think part of this over the last 10 weeks as combines and after the combine, but pro days, bringing guys in, all of that went away. That there's something about the Ravens in the institutional knowledge they have, going back to Vinny Testaverde, that they're really, really good at doing this because there's a communication within, and there's sort of a bar that's set for them that I do. Look, it's powered my life, football in this city, right? That if we would have been Jacksonville or Charlotte or one of these places where it doesn't matter as much as it matters here, that my life would be different. But every year they spend this weekend as some sort of a fire drill, and every weekend that this happens, they come out of it better than others. And that really does speak to the organization and how they view the draft as being so. They took a running back in the second round. They don't have a need for a running back. They took one anyway.
Yeah, and that pick in particular excited me because I tend to gravitate a little bit more towards the teams that aren't so hell-bent on getting a quote-unquote need, right? Oh, we have to get this coming out of the draft. I understand some needs are greater than others. You're going to
every one of your mock drafts is based on whatever the biggest need is perceived to be, or what that they would only draft that position at 15, 18, 21, whatever the number is, and you find that a good philosophy wouldn't work like a mock drafter.
Yeah, right. I mean, there's always, I always leave myself flexibility when I do those mocks. Like, are there 2 or 3 positions that every team is more likely to draft at that spot than others if they stay put? Absolutely. But what if there's an unexpected run at the position, one of the positions you're keyed in on, or a position that you're not expecting, or, somebody jumps in front of you and takes your guy? Well, guess what? There's no do-overs here. I mean, now you're forced to kind of go to your plan B, and I always feel like, Yeah, there have been cases where clearly they haven't gotten their first choice at a pick. They're 4 or 5 slots away. They're saying, yes, I think we can get our guy. Somebody grabs them unexpectedly, and you're left feeling a little down. But
well, we'll be talking about Mims like that around here for years unless it's confirmed that he wasn't their guy. But they traded out, right? Literally.
Yeah. No, I mean, absolutely. And go to the Dobbins pick, for instance, and I think they just said, look, we got this guy really high on our board. Let's grab him. And, a year from now, we're probably having a discussion about Mark Ingram, and then we can kind of figure out. Because to me, it was more than worth it there. It was one of my favorite picks they made. I love Queen. I think he's going to be a great fit there. But Dobbins, to me, was a player who I had ranked. He's my third running back, but it was very close to numbers 1 and 2. So a player I think I had number 29 or 30 overall. I can't remember. So you're basically getting a guy almost 25, 30 picks better than where I had him slotted. And I I take a lot of teams' input into it and sort of create a rankings that way and then add my own little thoughts. So that's a great pick. I think a year from now, especially, we're going to look back and say, wow, that's the kind of vision you need as a GM and as a scouting staff to know that this may not be our most pressing immediate need, but today's surplus is tomorrow's need. That's always going to be the case.
Eric Edholm is our friend. You can follow him at Eric_Edholm. He's out on Yahoo Sports. And you can follow along all the post-draft coverage as we, I guess, sort of a way to schedule or whatever we're waiting for. Or, I guess there are plenty of virtual Zooms going on in the NFL right now amongst draft picks and people and agents and all the things that are going to. But we're for our purposes, for the next 15 minutes, we're going to pretend there's going to be a season and pretend that the Ravens are 14-2 and pretend that Lamar Jackson's not going to give or get COVID from I don't know, Antonio Brown or whatever they're going to do in Florida running around. The Ravens dealt back out of that 60 pick with the Patriots after the Mims thing, and they dealt back to wind up getting 4 picks in the third round, 6 in the top 106. When you talk about every Ricky Wagner, every Ryan Jensen, every player that ever went somewhere else that turned into a sandwich pick or a third or a fourth or a fifth or whatever the sup pick would be, that they then use things to move around and trade off players and get assets and do all these things. 6 players in the top 106 in the year when you went 14-2 and could have easily won the Super Bowl and are perceived to be going into a better cap situation with a quarterback on a first contract as opposed to Joe Flacco, which is where they were for a decade. This is a fascinating thing. And right around 10:50, when they dealt backward, I said, this is an indication, maybe not about Mims, but maybe about how many names they have still left on the board to say, we're going to get 4 of these guys if we back up. We're going to get 4 of these players. And I said, this is the time in the draft where one of these 4 guys is going to be the guy that gets an $80 million contract with the Lions in 2024 or 25. And DeCosta will be sitting in the 25 draft with another third round, 106 pick that comes off of a sup. Because you give them 4 chances in the third round to hit on the next Matt Judon, Marshall Yonda, whatever that guy is, they've been really, really good at doing that.
Yeah, I think, and especially this year, I felt like that was kind of the sweet spot of this draft. And it was good on the high end. There were some good players who I think will end up being Pro Bowlers and whatnot. But the depth of this class at certain positions, not every slot, but, wide receiver was deep. I think the offensive line depth on the outside was a little deeper than we assumed, but for them to get 2 pretty good guards there too shows that there may have been people may have been sleeping on that position a little bit as well. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, this is the theory is that they've been so good at finding the types of players, and this was kind of the ultimate draft for them to be able to do that because of the depth at certain spot. Linebacker was another really deep spot, and they get Malik Harrison. It's like every time they picked, I thought, I'm shocked he's still out there. Yeah, there's always bias because I go into it thinking, all right, this guy will go by about the 60th or 50th pick. and he goes 100th, and you go, geez, what happened? What's going on? But
well, did you do a plus minus just on the rate? I mean, I saw Dan Jeremiah had like a stat that was like where I had him and where he was picked, and I'm thinking, and I know Kuiper's done that in the past. For you, let's start with Queen for you, Eric. I mean, you said you love the pick. Let's go through that because Murray was mocked to them. I mean, the kid Bond from Wisconsin who wound up, hanging around a little while. And then there was the always with the Ravens where there was no thought they were ever going to draft Terrell Suggs. Now he's going to the Hall of Fame, right? Like he just fell to them the way Ogden fell to them, quite frankly, the way they've always described it to me for a couple of these books that I've written on championships that they've had where you look at Queen and say, everybody loved that pick and everybody had him mocked and he was there and boom. I mean, he becomes their guy. Now, we'll see if he works out to be a Ray Lewis or a Mosley or, just a guy, right?
Yeah, I think, I mean, he's a little bit different than those guys, but I know exactly what you're talking about. And I think, I had Queen as my number 17 overall player, and I thought that his value in the pass game is going to be really important because he is the rare linebacker, undersized albeit, but still, I mean, I feel good about his ability to kind of add a little bit of weight. He's a young kid. I mean, he's 20 years old, right? So, I mean, he's, like Ray Lewis was drafted at the same age, and you're seeing a player on the beginning of the trajectory, on the arc up, and really only started, I want to say, like 12, 13 games at LSU. Really didn't start the first 4 games this year because they felt a little more comfortable with Jacob Phillips making the call. So it's not as if this is a player who's going to step in and make 200 tackles next year. But I think they really could have somebody with great instincts and along the same lines as what the Steelers got in Devin Bush last year or, what the Bucs got in Devin White. And those were, the 5th and the 10th pick in the draft last year. I mean, that's basically getting him a year ahead. So to get him at 28 was great. Dobbins, like I said, I had him 29th or 30th off the top of my head. Madubuike, I had at 50, and they got him at 70, whatever.
71,
so,
yep.
Yeah, so that's just 3 top 50 players on my board. Again, I'm not, I know other people think differently, but you couldn't have started. I was like hitting, a 2-run homer, a 3-run homer, and then a solo shot, right? Can't do much better than that, man.
Man, you miss baseball, don't you, Edholm? Come on now.
I do, yeah. More than I thought I would, yeah.
Eric Edholm's here from Yahoo, and you can go find him out on Twitter. I follow him. You should, too. You should go and read in your spare time the 1996 spoken word, and now I have spoken word of Vinny Testaverde that you can use to update if you wish. At that. Yeah, I mean, I've you inspired me with that because that is the root. I mean, you're really at the heart of everything I'm about, the 96 Ravens. Like, literally, Kevin Byrne, by the way, retiring. And I threw this out, and I'm going to throw this to you, and I'm going to let you stew on this a little bit because I'm working on it. My belief is that Kevin Byrne has seen NFL games in more stadia than anyone alive. Now, there are a few guys that, may – and I thought about this. Dick LeBeau would be a guy that may have because he's been in the game so long and been in the new ones and the old ones. But there's something to think about. Devin Duvernay, and let's go through Harrison and Phillips as well, because that 11 o'clock hour, Eric, when they dealt back – and I said, they're going to get 6 out of 106. Their board is such that they're going to get 6 out of their top 60, I bet, right? Or top 58. They're going to get 6 guys that they think are in the top 50-something of the draft. And I'll, believe me, I'll tie Eric down over 2 cups of really strong coffee one day after, Purple Rain 3's going. And I'll try to get to the bottom of it. But I found that hour to be particularly fascinating. Madubuike, Duvernay, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, Harrison and Phillips. Those guys, all big school guys, and every time a name came off the board, there was a you or a Kuiper or a Jeremiah or somebody involved in the draft out saying, great pick, amazing pick. So let's go through those 4 guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think that's good. I mean, as much as I love the first 2 picks, you can see just from those 4 selections alone, you could see some real return. I mean, Madubuike, I wrote a story back in June of last year trying to predict, 10 off-the-wall surprise first-round picks for this year? Meaning, who are some guys that have talent but could take sort of a sizable jump? And Madubuike was one of them. I mean, I thought there were some flashes in 2018, and I said, yeah, this is a guy to watch. I saw a couple of games of his where he really popped off the year before. Now, last year, it was a little bit more of the same. It was a little more flash and a little less consistency, right? I mean, some games you sort of didn't notice him that much. He's one of those players that I think you put him in the right spot. You don't ask him to play 70 snaps a game. He's going to be pretty darn valuable. He's an interior rusher who's got some real high energy to him. Total Ravens guy. I mean, it looked like a Ravens pick to me. So, at that spot, well worth it. Duvernay was fascinating because he made that insane diving catch in 2018, but that was really the one thing he was kind of known for. Colin Johnson was the guy there at Texas. And then last year, starting with the LSU game, he became this slot machine. I mean, he became this guy who, you line up inside, built kind of like a running back more than a wide receiver. He's got sort of a thick build, not blazing fast, but moves pretty darn well. And he catches 106 balls or whatever it was for Texas. So he was their safety net and more. I mean, he could break tackles with power. You watch him catch the ball, and it was like you flip the switch, he turns into a running back at that point. And he just barreled through tackles and, stretched the ball out for first downs and, made kind of shoestring grabs. And you said to yourself, this guy took a jump last year. So very impressive piece to the puzzle, I think, that was added. Harrison is an interesting guy because he's a former high school quarterback. And so he's got that kind of advanced understanding of how football works and where the ball is going. He can sort of, instinctively read keys very well. His big strength is in the run game. He's good at shutting down the screen game, too. He's developing as a pass defender. That's the one thing where you see a little room for growth. But at the Senior Bowl, by the third day of practice down there, he picked off Jordan Love and dropped into coverage and made a quick little reaction to him. He sort of read his eyes and just got him. And I was like, I've seen him do it now. You know what I mean? I can see where he can improve. So he kind of reminds me. I thought he was a Patriot. Like when I watched him, I thought this is what Bill likes. This is what Belichick likes, the big downhill thumper who at least has the potential to get better in pass coverage. So that was interesting that they had made that trade, obviously. I don't know if that was one of the
Where
picks,
did you have Harrison on your board? Because, when I think about the way the Ravens have done this in the past, Andrews and Hurst a couple of years ago, I go back to Dixon and Pitta, and bringing in guys, I mean, Sharper and Ray Lewis in that same era as well, that, there's a thought some people loved Harrison enough to think he was a second-round guy, which says to me, look at Zeus coming in here, after an awful combine, right? Yeah. Came in and became a starter right away. It's not outrageous to think any of these third-round guys are going to outperform first-round guys because that happens a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I had him, I think, either 69th or 70th on my board. So do I see him more as a first and second down guy now? Yes. But it's really cool, too, how his skills and Patrick Queen's skills seem to kind of complement each other. Like what the one guy does really well now, the other guy is still kind of growing in. So that, and Queen's not the biggest guy, but Harrison's got great thick mass. I mean, he's a well-built kid. I mean, he wanted to play either quarterback or receiver at Ohio State, which kind of tells you how athletic he is. But, I just sort of feel like he's found a home at linebacker. So I thought that was great value at the end of round 3. And then the one pick that I wasn't crazy about was Tyree Phillips. I just sort of thought, fifth-round guy. It was the one pick that I sort of felt like may have been a little bit of a reach. Others disagreed with me that I kind of, got some feedback that there are teams that did like him. He's only a one-year starter. He was kind of a sixth man on the offensive line in 2018, played a couple different spots. To me, that's what his role is going to be. If he's going to make the active roster, he'll be you can come in and play everything but center guy. So I think that's sort of where he's pegged for. I actually had Bredesen a little ahead of him, and they got him, 38 picks later or whatever. So Bredesen, to me, was a really nice choice in that he's just one of those mature, solid, like a Matt Skura type, like he's going to play in this league and probably start some games.
Well, team captain kind of guy playing for Harbaugh's brother.
Yeah.
I think you sort of know what you're getting. You're getting a high motor, kind of guy, right? I mean, you're getting a Michigan guy.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Eric Edholm is here. We're going through the draft. Any thoughts at all on the late picks? And I.
Oh yeah.
Look, man, I woke up on Saturday morning, the last day, and I thought to myself, well, what are they going to do today? They got 6 out of the top 106. I mean, you may be nitpicky on the guard from Mississippi State and the cowbell,
right,
but everybody loved everything about the rest of these cats. And then they go into the last day, which everybody says their favorite day and whatnot, and Geno Stone pops up at pick 219 that I've never remembered anybody talking about a 7th-round draft pick around here. But somehow, and I'm sure you're going to talk about him a little bit, but Washington approach, I think, is the right Prochy, like Jim Croce.
James Prochet. Yeah,
Prochet,
yep.
like message in a bottle. I love it. SMU and Geno Stone. So some thoughts about these guys.
Yeah, I thought 2 inspired 7th-round picks. Like, if I'm wrong about him, fine. But, Geno Smith was being talked about pre-draft, like 4th, 5th round. I mean, I thought there was he's not a big guy. He's not an incredible athlete. But, boy, I just sort of felt like the instincts with him. He's got a real quick trigger. Like, he's one of those guys that when you heard Kirk Ferentz talk about him, they invited him to Big Ten Media Days last year, didn't know a lot about him, hadn't watched him play. And I sat down and listened to Ferentz talk, and he kept saying, like, Geno Stone is going to be a tone setter for this year. So I kept making a note, like, got to watch this kid. I don't really know anything about him. So, and when I did, you just saw somebody who had these, he had football speed, meaning he wasn't fast on a track, but he could make up for that by getting a jump on balls and understanding where the ball was going and meeting people there and things like that. So he just profiles as a great third safety, special teams guy. They've had a million of those over the years that have done well. But to me, Prochet is the one you got to get excited about. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe his lack of kind of blazing speed and quickness are gonna hurt him at some point. But I thought he was a 4th-round pick all day long. Incredible hands. Like another guy like Duvernay. I mean, very similar style-wise. Which, okay, maybe that's not exactly what you're looking for, or whatever. Not a huge producer in terms of yards per catch, but the dude scored 39 touchdowns in college.
Well, the other thing around here, dude, is this is a way, way, way different offense, right? Like what they're looking for in a wide receiver, that sort of nasty Willie Snead, I'm willing to block, that Steve Smith, I like blocking, you know what I mean? Like, it takes a special dude. I mean, like the Ravens and the kind of way they're drafting this Bredesen and Phillips, what they want these guys to do is different than what 31 other teams are asking anyone in their offense to do at any position.
No doubt
right?
about it. Oh, I mean, and this Prochet, go watch some of his highlights. I think you'll be really impressed. Like the diving grabs, the extra effort on blocking for his teammates. I mean, they had a pretty prolific offense at SMU. They scored a bunch of points. They weren't stopping many teams. It relied on them, kind of outgunning people. And Prochet was the guy. When it was 3rd and 8, he had a target on his back, and he would get those 10 yards to get the chains moving. And, I mean, he had some insane grabs last year that were, he doesn't look pretty doing it, but I don't care. I mean, I really don't care because I thought I was frankly kind of floored when I saw him fall. Like 100 picks were beyond where I thought he should go. So trading a pick next year for him, fine in my book. They got insane value in my opinion. Look, if he's never more than a 4th or 5th receiver, it's still worth it to me if he gets somebody in that range. So Broderick Washington was interesting. I didn't know much about him coming into the Senior Bowl. He was a late ad down there. But every day down there, he did something to make you think, this guy belongs on a roster. I don't know exactly what he is, but you say defensive line rotational guy. I mean, he impressed me for a guy that was a late ad, probably on their sub board for the Senior Bowl. Like, he was only in because of injuries and people backing out. He showed he belonged down there. I mean, that was probably worth it as well. I didn't, wasn't thrilled with the pick, but the other ones got me excited for sure.
Eric Edholm's here from Yahoo, and you can find him at Eric_Edholm out on Twitter. You drop Kirk Ferentz in here. You got another 96 Ravens route there. And, of course, Marshall Yanda, by the way, if you ever write about him going to the Hall of Fame or whatnot, speaks so highly of Kirk Ferentz and his little bit of time there, and I have a relationship with Kirk. So, it all goes back to the 96 Ravens throwing this tree of what will be this draft class here. Any thoughts around the league? I mean, we sit here and watch like the Steelers and wondering what they're doing with Roethlisberger, and obviously we're wondering how the Browns are going to be coached. And my wife's like, "Who's that Stefanski guy?" And then the Bengals take Boy Wonder out of LSU, and we still look at the Ravens and say 14-2 and got better. And if they're going to play football this year, the Ravens right up there with Team Kansas City. They're going to be among the teams to beat.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, right, it's a strange time for Pittsburgh, obviously, with the quarterback question. They didn't draft one, obviously. Didn't have a first-round pick, but I think everybody agrees they made a great trade for Minka Fitzpatrick to use for that. So to me, that was outstanding value. Obviously the Bengals are fascinating because they have this regime change from last year and then the new quarterback. And I think Burrow's going to be really good. I could see him, it's funny because when he came to LSU, he got there so late because he lost the battle in the spring, gets there in the summer, didn't know his teammate's name, and they said, go win a job. And 3 weeks later, he did. He was the best quarterback down there, but it took him a little while. 2018, he wasn't great. So I wouldn't be stunned if his rookie year is a lot like 2018 LSU, where he didn't really hit his stride until after the Alabama loss. Those last 4 games, he played great. You watch those last 4 games, it looks exactly like what we saw this year from Burrow. So they're going to be better. They're coming along. We'll see if Zach Taylor can coach. And, obviously Cleveland they needed a tackle, and they got my best tackle. I got to give them credit for that. And now, interestingly enough, tie it all back home to Baltimore, you've got Grant Delpit, the safety from LSU, who's going to be trying to stop, Burrow and those guys. And you got Patrick Queen going to be doing the same thing because he's obviously seen plenty of Burrow. Both those guys have fun little LSU AFC North connection there.
Eric, I guess around the league we're all like sort of sitting back and saying we're going to play some football, right? I mean, I found it funny that from Matabuke on in the 11 o'clock hour, the Eric DeCosta hour was the Roger Goodell Coco hour. He was sitting back in the Chase Lounge, and it was quite a thing to sort of behold all of it, but underneath of all of it, and I've had a good time for the 27 minutes that I've held you captive here in Nestor's web of Ravens thoughts, but I am concerned that there's not going to be a season, or it's going to be a weird season, or it's going to be a late season. I know there's all these contingencies, and this was a nice little nugget of what used to be reality, but we're all wondering what it is at this point, right?
Yeah, and I think it felt similar in some ways to the 2011 draft, where there was this impending doom with the season, obviously, and that was different with the CBA negotiations and the lockout and everything, but it was an oasis. We had nothing else to talk about other than that and labor strife. Well, guess which one the fans like? Guess which one media folks like, right? So, it obviously had that kind of effect 10 years ago. And here we are, and you're right, there is this doubt. There is lingering question about whether the season's going to start early, late, on time, partial season, full season, push back, who knows, right? Are fans going to be allowed inside? Or do they have to sit 4 seats apart? What's going on? So,
I remember when pass interference and replay were the big things we had to worry about, right?
Oh my gosh, right. That's like first world problems now, So yeah, here's the fear for the NFL, and I'll kind of end it on this note in the sense that if they release a schedule here coming out in 2 weeks, obviously you don't want people like booking travel and starting to make plans for something that could be taken off the board pretty soon. So I think there's a little bit of hesitancy for the NFL just to come out and say, well, here's the schedule with an asterisk. We can take it away from you.
Yeah.
We don't know. So it's tough.
I had flights held. I mean, obviously Pearl Jam, the Stones. I was supposed to be out in San Diego next weekend to see the Stones. I had tickets, crazy, cheap tickets, even crazier. And it's all sort of gone, and I think we sit back here as human beings. I mean, I can't wait to come out to Chicago and see Pearl Jam with you and sit at Pequod's and get a proper pizza pie, hopefully,
You're singing to my local sensibilities here, man. I haven't had Pequods in about 2 years now. I haven't seen PJ in about what was the last Wrigley show I saw? 2013 or something. So it's been a minute. And the idea of no live music this summer
Weird.
sounds just utterly horrible to me. I'm starting to. The shock is setting in now that my draft distraction is gone.
The good news about YouTube is that once you start watching one or two old concerts, you get recommendations. And like this morning, Van Halen, Baltimore '82 showed up, so I shared that. My boy Dave Geller is trying to get me to do the 10 album thing, and I've so far, because I'm busy working on like important stuff, I haven't been able to do it. But I feel like, all right, I've started to put the list together. They want me to do it without words. I'm a freaking writer. If I'm sharing 10 albums, you're going to hear why I'm sharing them. I'm not just going to put up, like, the cover of the Smithereens especially for you and have you try to figure it out. You know what I mean? I'm not doing that. I'm a writer.
You got to give context, right? You know, somebody's number 2 album is going to be another guy's 202nd album. You got to say a time and a place where that album became important to you, right? There's a moment where you said, you know, I love Appetite for Destruction, and here's why. You know, I was 13 and this happened.
Because there was a girl in Ocean City that week in the summer of '88. Right, exactly. That's what you. Yep. That's the way it works.
We've been doing these. Scott Pianowski, Yahoo Fantasy guy, and Frank Schwab, who does NFL with me. We've been doing these drafts. Like we did Tom Petty's song draft the other day. We're now doing his sports announcers draft. Like
Tom Petty's song. Whoa. Is Insider on that list?
Actually, you know what? That was going to be my last pick, but then the board kind of fell.
Where's Southern Accents on that? Where's Change of Heart?
I took Rebels in round 4, and I felt like I had a home run on that one. That was one of my favorite picks. So go check it out, man. I'll send it to you. I'll give you the link for that. We had fun. It was a 3-man draft. We could have probably done 20 rounds, and still Insider was one of the undrafted free agents that I most regret not taking.
Listen to Her Heart's number 1, right?
I got that in round 5, 6, something like it. It was crazy. There were some fallers, man. There were a few that slipped through that I didn't expect to happen.
I mean, you can have your breakdowns in America. Have all that you want, but, like, you got to go a little deeper into the catalog with Petty if you really want to. If you want to get my appreciation.
A few Wilbury songs in there. We got a little creative. I took the duet with Stevie Nicks song. We dipped into his library a little bit. I thought his catalog was well represented. Wildflowers got maybe a little short shrift.
Petty played a song on the last tour every night that wasn't like a hit, and it was just such a great song. And I'm trying to go back to the tour because I saw 3 or 4 of the shows. I saw the 2 shows at Red Rocks. I actually saw the Red Rocks show, and Mike Silver was in my row, and we wound up just like it was my wife's birthday, and we wound up like going all night. And what song? Crawling Back to You, maybe? Crawling Back to You. Or I Should Have Known It. I Should Have Known It, maybe? Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see that tour, so it's hard for me to say. I didn't really get to go. I regret missing that one now, obviously. But, yeah, I didn't
good
catch
songs,
that one, so.
Really. I should have known it. I should have known it's the song I'm thinking of. Go back and go back and relive that one. Find that one from the 17 tour. Eric, love you, man. Sure. Appreciate you. I'm looking forward to a Pequods. I mean, the last time I had Pequods, and this will break your heart because, you're a Chicago guy. Chet Kopic was one of my dear friends in the world. And this was last January, after the Ravens got eliminated, the Chargers elimination game. I found myself with a little bit of time on my hands, and I had a $39 flight out to Chicago on a 5-degree day in January. Seeger was playing the new basketball gym up in Milwaukee, right?
Okay.
So I drove through, and I was supposed to meet Chet at Pequods for a pizza. There was a foot of ice on the ground. It was treacherous just walking in, swear to God, up in the neighborhood. You know where it is. And I got a Pequods, and I got one for my wife, and I took it out, and I put it in the trunk of the car, and I drove up to Milwaukee. And it was 5 degrees, so the pizza froze solid in the trunk of the car. Chet didn't meet me. I went up to Milwaukee, did the show, drove back No, I flew out of Bradley, and I flew home with a frozen pizza, and I brought it home. My wife thawed it for lunch. It was the greatest idea ever. I got to see Seager, and the sad news is Chet passed after that, and I never got to see Chet again. So that'll always be a special memory to me because we actually FaceTimed at Pequod's. Yeah, nasty. I can't get up there. His Chicago accent and all that stuff. So, but hey, man. So the next time I get together with the red and white tablecloth at Pequod, it's going to be with you, and we're getting sausage and peppers on it proper.
Tall beer to go with it, man. That's I go there every now and then. I used to anyway. I lived in the city for NCAA games. So I thought that was for the tournament. That was a good place to get in that back room, get a little away from the hubbub in the front there. That's an underrated NCAA tournament hangout place. Get a pie, hang out, eat a slice every 30, 40 minutes, sit there for 5 hours. It's great.
Man, those were the days back when we could do things at home.
I love doing things, and I don't get to do things anymore.
All right, we'll do things again, and we'll talk some more football. Always great to have you on, my brother. All right?
My pleasure, dude. Talk to you soon.
Eric Edholm. Find him at Eric_Edholm. Find him at Yahoo. And work on your Tom Petty song list there. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. We got sponsors everywhere. I want to thank my dear friends at Sporticulture for sending the beautiful purple display that my cat keeps trying to eat up by my leg lamp. Arthur B. Modell here. My retired Magma Terps, look at it, man. It looks like a top 10, just right in midstream. Just stopped everything. But I am feeding the purple magma lamp here. It's getting a little cloudy over there. Now it's clear. Just like the season itself. All of our sponsors. Royal Farms Coffee. I got some fried chicken there the other day. Wings. They go with draft. They do. Pizza John's, of course. Talking about pizza. I had a legendary Pizza John's pie that I cooked on my Magic Chef stone on Monday night. And I have leftovers with fresh red and green peppers that I did up myself. Pizza John's, back Riverneck Road. They ship. Edholm, you'll know I love you when you go to your porch and you find a Pizza John's pizza frozen there, ready to get into your oven in Chicago, Illinois. And our friends at Strategic Factory as well. Big shout out to Keith. Mimi over at State Farm. I got all my stuff. Planet Fitness, 7 o'clock every night you can work out. And don't forget our water at Liberty Pure. Doug Workman sending me fresh water that I can drink. acleanwater.com. You can find them. We are WNST.net. We used to do Baltimore sports. I just did some Baltimore sports, even though I'm just hoping for a season, any season. Keep calm, stay local, and stay Baltimore positive.